Well, hello, all my wonderful broskies of the Dark Shadow Maverick Nation. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys, if any of you actually look in the description of my videos that do have descriptions, you would know that the last part of the last storyline 4, was the final part of storyline 4. And I believe that was a 3-part long storyline. That is because this is most of the reason why the storyline was only 3 parts long. That is because I will be focusing on something new. I'll be focusing on another AU, but unlike the other 2 AU what ifs, Snowset was basically taking a spin on a character that existed and was mainly known to be evil. Plus, it had, the character Vanilla Sands in it. Well, I'm no, I'm speaking about it like it's no longer going on. Both of the other ones are still going on. And by whenever I say both of the other ones, I mean like Snowset and What If Lancer was friends with Vanilla Sands. The whole Vanilla Sands thing, Lancer, Vanilla Sands, that was the whole kind of introduction to Vanilla Sands' character. And another, like, What If Sands, which is actually 3 others, Gold Dust, Crystal, and Dark Web. And then there's Vanilla Frisk and Vanilla Cha, but that won't be the only ones. I think there are actually going to be several more as the story continues that will end up showing up. So yeah, and well, Snowset, like I said, basically a story where a character that most people, just write off as evil is just that's not the case in this story. Snowset, that's not the case in that story. This third thing, instead of being like Deltarune and Undertale and whatever, like AU, or just being an Undertale AU itself, like how Snowset was, this is going to be mostly, if not completely, an Undertale AU based story. And I said mostly, if not completely, because I'm not finished with the story. I haven't even started the story. Because I'm just now telling you guys this to set the mood and what the story is going to be like. Basically, what this whole thing, where we start the story is, basically, if you guys know about I'm pretty sure it's pretty popular, you know, Undertale AU BLOODTALE. Yeah, BLOODTALE. Basically, yes, that Undertale AU BLOODTALE. If you guys are familiar, if you're not familiar, I don't want to spoil it, but basically, I don't want to spoil it, so spoiler alert. Because the people that do already know, it would probably be a pain in the ass to have to go through it again, so I'm just gonna say spoiler alert so that people will know. Basically, BLOODTALE, whenever the game gets so broken, like, the game will, like, literally send something like, I believe it's called the Bête Noire, and, like, Betty Noir, or, like, Bête Noire. And it has the pink soul of fear, the pink soul, like, pink soul trait of fear. The Bête Noire, or Betty Noir, whichever you want to call it. So that's where Betty comes from, you Undertale fans. BLOODTALE. Basically, in this is going to be like, what if BLOODTALE, I don't know if it's still going on or if it's ended already or whatever, but like, what if it took a different route? Like, instead of, I believe Frisk managed to become friends with the Bête Noire. I believe they managed to pacifist their way out of this shit. But basically, what if they kinda took a different route with the whole Bête Noire thing? And what I'm trying to say here is basically, like, for those of you guys who like Undertale music, like, you know, not just Undertale music in general, like fan Undertale music, there's like this thing called like the Terminolovania, kind of like what if Frisk was Sans, or what if like Sans gave Frisk like his powers to defeat Chara. It's like the Terminolovania freaking remix of Megalovania. Like, what if that happened, but not the way you would think? Like, what if that took a different turn, basically? What if the whole Sans helping Frisk took a different turn? Because already before in the series, they kind of dealt with the whole Chara problem. So, like, what if, like, they didn't really deal with it like it looked like it was dealt with, but seeing as before, like that one version, like that one fight that Frisk had against Betty until she cheated by basically creating a new, like, Sans thing. So yeah, until Betty pulled the cheat code, until Betty decided to freaking Game Shark the shit. Like, jump the Game Shark. So, that tells me that somewhere deep down inside of Frisk, there's, like, still some sort of, like Chara Dreamer deep down in there. Like, still there. And so, like, the whole plan thing about, like Sans telling Frisk to, like, absorb the soul power and then, like, basically, like, give them a bad time. But instead of Chara, it would be, like, the Bête Noire, like, Betty. Instead of Chara, it would be Betty, but also, like, instead of just Frisk, it would actually, like, it would be Frisk and Chara, but Chara would be hiding in the background until the last second, and Sans would have to realize that, like, he would see at the last second Chara, and Chara would be like, "Oh, don't worry, smiley trash bag. We won't put your power to waste. We'll finish them off, and then we'll finish what we started." And, well, basically, the whole Bête Noire thing, Betty is supposed to have the power of Frisk and Chara, but, you know, this version of Frisk would have the power of Frisk, Chara, and Sans. So, it would be kind of difficult to compete with that. And, like, especially if both Frisk and Chara are really, like, determined, which they would be. And, you know, so yeah, like, they would just be really determined to, like, just finish this, like, get rid of this freaking Bête Noire thing that is trying to destroy the freaking world. Just get rid of this monster. Even if it means, like, having to kill. Like, it's not worth having other, like having their friends die just because, you know, wanting to be a pacifist. And Frisk finally gets that. And so Frisk is like, "Chara, you win. No mercy." It's like, it's time for a no mercy run. And Chara's like Frisk is like, "It's time for a no mercy run." And Chara is just smiling. It's just like, finally you realize you can't run away from the consequences forever. But that's just the thing. There still seems to be someone around here who doesn't get that. And Frisk is like, "Bête Noire?" And Chara's like, "You betcha. They think they're above the consequences. The consequences of destroying this world. How big do you think those would be?" And Frisk would be like, "Oh, those are big consequences for sure. Oh, Sans. Like, hey, Chara, What do you think about asking Sans what he thinks? How big the consequences would be for trying to destroy our world? And it's just like Charles, like, well, smiley trash bag, what do you think? And Sans is like, well, kid, honestly, after everything, after all the pain and suffering, even after every single genocide run you put us through, both of you, Frisk, you're not innocent either, but still I can see that at least you and at one point a brat, at one point even they had capacity for mercy. But this thing, this, I don't even know what to call it, this evil thing, it's it's the reason there's been so much suffering. Even though we should be happy that we're at the surface, they're the reason for all the suffering. And Chara is just looking at the Bête Noire while Sans is saying all this, and Chara is just like, then why don't we just kill it then? And Frisk is like, ditto. And basically, Sans is like, 3, and Chara's like, 2, and Frisk is like, 1. And then all of a sudden, it's just like the Terminal Ovani in the background, and the Bête Noire would just be like, do you really think you can stop what already has been started? You can do nothing. There is nothing you can do to stop what's been started. Foolish human. Humans and monsters can never get along. And Frisk is just like, well, tell that to my friends and family, you demon. And the Bête Noire is just like, friends? Family? Are you that stupid? And Char just chimes in and is like, no, you're the idiot. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, like an attack boost. And the Bête Noire would be like, what? What was that? No, Samson, that human, they would never work together. And Sans is like, you know, at first, I wasn't really aware that they still had the brat inside of them. So, I guess you're kind of half right. But hey, that's exactly what I said. Half right. Seeing monstrosities like you, it actually makes me thankful that the brat's still around. Now, let's finish this. And Frisk is just like, ditto. Shing. And Char's like, I couldn't agree more. Shing! And Sansa's like, get dunked on. Demon. And Bet Noir would just be like, and all of a sudden, it would just be like, whenever the light subsides, like, everything would be like, everybody would be happy. And, for a moment, like, Frisk, Chara, and Sans, they aren't really that sure why. Everyone seems so relieved. And they all just, at the same time, think to themselves, did they actually do it? They actually get rid of that devil child? They did it. The Bete Noir is no more. And they've just proven that this universe is not broken at all. Monsters and humans living in harmony, it's better than it's ever been. But for some reason, like, Papyrus is there, and Toriel is there, but they both, like, their smiles are slowly turning to looks of confusion as they ask, like, they ask them why aren't they defusing? Like, they're assuming that's what happened. I mean, if that wasn't the case, then why would they just be one being? I mean, they are assuming that is the only possible way for there to just be one being there, is if they all fused. And Alphys actually goes up there with, like, work she did with Gaster, and I do not remember what the name of the human lady was, but, she helped too with the work. And Alfie's, like, calculations, whenever she ran them through, like, whatever machine she had, the calculations, like, everything, like, read out to be, like, apparently, well, the calculations say, like, all of the records and everything. Well, apparently, before, like, Frisk took all of Sans powers and they kind of fused, Frisk, well, went into their darker side. And there in their darker side, they found Chara, who was, like, just lying dormant, just, out of it. Like, conked out, like, completely out of it. And so they kind of had to wake her up, because I'm going to say Chara's a she for this. And I'm going to say Frisk is a she. Basically, they woke Chara up, and, basically they're just like, you probably want to be in the action as well, right? Like old times, But I gotta warn you, the way things are going, you're gonna have to be stealth, because what I'm about to do is basically mm, Sans were going to be with him. Basically, Frisk would explain everything about, like, joining Sans' soul, like, the whole determination Lovania. And, that really wouldn't change the whole title of Determination Lovania or whatever, because, Charas has their own determination. Even though they also had, like, the hate, the black soul, they originally had the same thing as Frisk. They had the red soul trait that is determination. So it would still be determination Lovania. And, well, basically, it's explained that, well, Frisk basically made themselves the way they used to be, to where, like, it was equal amounts of Frisk and equal amounts of Chara, so basically back to, like, the beginning of any route. They, like, reset themselves. Like, not reset the timeline, but, like, reset themselves back to, like, the beginning point. Because, like, Chara showed Frisk, like, Frisk was wanting to know how they could, like, do something like that, and Chara showed Frisk, like, a little thing that, neither of them had previously noticed. A button that says overwrite. Another button that says true overwrite. And Chara's like, they've been doing some studying and they realize if they just overwrite instead of true overwrite, if they just do a regular overwrite instead of a true overwrite, it will basically set them back to their, like, previous, like, basically their status, like, how they were at the beginning of any run. Like, doesn't matter if it's pacifist, neutral, or genocide. Like, it would be the beginning of the run anyways, so there would be no difference. And so basically, like, so they did the whole overwrite thing with their souls, like, sticking them together and, like, overwriting everything, so like, they're basically fixed, and they have the same amount of determination, same amount of HP, same amount of attack, same amount of defense, same amount of everything. And so they're perfectly even. And so all they have to wonder about now is how compatible their, like, double soul will be with Sans' soul. And, like, if he'll be able to notice that Frisk has brought Chara along for the ride. Now that, Frisk has done what they've done. They've just now, done. And well, Chara, kept to their little promise, and they made sure to be really incognito about this, and sneaky, very sneaky. To the point to where, like, Sans didn't know till, like, the last second that Chara was there. And, Frisk, like, as soon as possible, like, as soon as Sans was calm enough, explained everything in a way in which they knew, like, Sans wouldn't, like, freaking self-destruct the fusion and, like, screw everyone over, including, like, the people outside of the fusion. And so basically, yeah, it's all of the readings and recordings, like, all of the records are explained, and basically, yeah. So, Frisk, Chara, and Sans are fused together completely. And so, Sans is just left there. He has, like, the green and yellow, like, just one yellow stripe shirt underneath his jacket. And anything of Frisk, really? Well, he would kind of have like a blue and purple scarf. I'm gonna say, like, yes, a blue and purple scarf. No, like, Papyrus would notice that Sans has a scarf now. It's blue and purple, like how Frisk's shirt was blue and purple. And Sans just decided to start wearing something like that out of nowhere. When really it was just like the three souls adjusting to each other, and so like picking out things that, they decided that they could, yeah, picking out things that, would suit the fusion. I guess you could say that. Suit it best. Sans would still have the pink slippers and the pants and everything. The only changes would be the shirt wouldn't just be a plain white, it would be the one yellow stripe and the rest green, shirt on the inside that Chara wears, and so does Azrael. But, Azrael is Flowey, or actually, no, he's not, he is actually saved. So, yes, Azrael is alive in this. He was saved because, Bet Noir is no longer a problem. And so basically, yes, the one yellow stripe, everything else green shirt would be underneath the like coat jacket thing, like hoodie. Basically, it would be underneath the hoodie. And the only thing really a Frisk would be like a scarf that was blue that had like occasional purple stripes. Like just like a blue striped. I mean, like a blue, like purple striped, a blue and purple stripes freaking scarf, and like the shirt that's on like the inside, so like underneath the hoodie, it's just a green shirt with one yellow stripe. It's really the only thing of Chara and Frisk that's, well, there. And, well, basically, people live their lives mostly like normal. Everyone seems to be doing okay. And yeah, nothing too wrong. That is until, Undyne calls up Sans one day, and Sans is like, what's up, Undyne? And Undyne is like mentioning how, like, basically Sans is expecting it to be something about Papyrus, but it's actually like, seeing as Alphys used to be like scientist buddies with Sans or whatever, under Gaster, Undyne is just like, well, Alphys hasn't been returning any of my calls, so, you just go over there and check. And so Sans is like, sure, fine, whatever. He just takes a shortcut to Hotland, and he realizes that, you know, there have been some monster tracks leading, through the area that don't seem to be like like feet tracks of like any type of monster that's similar to Alphys. They seem more like feet tracks of like a monster that's like, you know, Asgore, Toriel, Azrael, those type of monsters. And well, basically, it's just so, Sand is really confused. And, whenever he realizes the door to the inside of the lab is, like, not really responding, he has to, use his magic to force the doors open. And, they just make the worst sound whenever he's trying to pry them open. And he's just like, ugh, nobody's even turned the lights on. It's dark as hell in here. And, well, Sans he actually goes up to the upstairs because, that's kind of where Alfie's, like, anime watching spot is, where she likes to watch her anime. And so if she's not doing any royal scientist work, which he really didn't see Alfie's downstairs, and he's not going to do a thorough freaking search. Who do you think he is? Freaking Albert Einstein? No, he's Sans Skeleton. He's lazy as he's lazy AF. And so, Sans just goes upstairs and, he doesn't really see Alphys, so he goes back downstairs, just really like weirded out. He didn't want to check the elevator, regardless if it was working or not, in fear that it might actually be working. And, Sans, in his own way, kind of does know about what Alphys has been doing. But, Sans is just like, he's like, nope. And, well, Sans is just like, he ends up being like, well, what do I do now? And then he just realizes, wait, he forgot to check the closet. Because Alfie's does indeed have a closet. It's not very easy to spot if you're not, like, doing a thorough search, but she does have a closet. Mostly because, like, there's, like, stuff strewn out everywhere. And so you wouldn't really be able to see the closet unless you, like, got some of the stuff out of your way. And Sans, seeing as he has been moving about, you know, it's been easier for him to actually see the closet a couple times as he's been passing by. So he's like thinking like, maybe she's doing something in there. And Sans, actually starts to think, why in the world, why in the heavens is he thinking that? He's just like, he doesn't care, like, whatever she's doing. Sans is just like, he doesn't even bother knocking. He just really doesn't feel like it. he's too tired right now to even care. So he just opens up the closet. What he sees, he doesn't like. And what happens next is even worse. He hears a very familiar voice, but not in the good kind of familiar way. It's like, oh, I didn't think you were going to come here. Hi, Sans. And Sans actually automatically turns around to see the basically the creature that he calls the weed. And he's like, Asriel, you turned back into the weed? How the hell did that happen? And basically, Flowey is just like, well, you don't have to be rude about it. I can still feel emotions, Never mind that. You saw. You probably want to know why. For some reason. I don't know why, but you probably would like to know. Listen, I had nothing to do with it. And even if you don't want to believe me, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I had nothing to do with, the S word that Alfie's, why you found her in the closet. I found her like that too. Otherwise, why do you think there would be so much pollen collecting near the door? Even before you saw me here. And Sans does indeed realize he even has pollen on his hands from whenever he was touching the doorknob. So yeah, Flowey here has a good indeed, yes indeedy solid alibi. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is, Flowey ain't lying. And basically, whenever Sans realizes this, he's just like, well, why? Just why would she? What on earth would give her the reason? But we're free. She has no reason to be sad. And Flowey's just like, Sans, the whole underground thing isn't the only reason she would have to feel down in the glumps, if you know what I mean. It's the pressure. So much pressure. Especially after what happened with the Bête Noire, if you know what I mean. And almost losing me again. Alphys knew what she did before, and the possibility of screwing up even worse a second time if, it had to be done a second time. She ended up coming up with an emotionless flower that can talk and has the possibility to mess with time and kill people. So, a second time around, what do you really think she'd be thinking that she could come up with? It's not like she would want to come up with it on purpose. And Sans is just like, so what you're saying is she did this because she was stressed that she might fail? And Flower's like, correction, fail again. She already believes she failed once, so. Or maybe twice or three times, considering the amalgams. And the whole thing, just in general, with continuing Gaster's entire plan. Just being the royal scientist in general was enough to give her so much stress that even being around Undyne, she was constantly thinking about what she'd be able to screw up next. She wasn't thinking enough positive to override the negative she was thinking. And eventually, so much of that piled up that she just couldn't take it anymore, and one thing leads to another, and, well, your eye sockets / eye lights didn't deceive ya. That is indeed her body. I tried not to disturb as much as I could. And Sans is like, but shouldn't she be dust by now? And Father's just like, that's the thing. Whenever I informed, the heads of, well, the underground and everything, all of the important people, what was said was, well, seeing as they were indeed informed about my current condition, Sans is just like, why would you inform them about your current condition? You were saved. Why didn't you just tell them? And Flower's like, a lie? Tell them that I was still the same little crybaby. I was still their son. Why would you want me to lie to them? I mean, I get that they would probably feel better if they thought I was still the same, but that's the thing. It's a lie. I'm not the same. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go the same route as before. No. I've had enough of going that route. And Sans is like, what do you mean you've had enough of going that route? And he sounds just like, he's like, what do you mean you've had enough of going that route? And Flowey is just like, Sans, I've asked I've asked permission from the higher ups of both monster and human society, and, well, they agreed I could fill in for Alphys while they were, waiting around for someone to do it for me. So, as of not too long ago, I basically superseded Alphys as royal scientist. Any more questions you need answers to? That I can actually provide satisfactory ones. I'm trying to help people here, not hurt them, but I can't exactly say that every answer I give will be one that you're gonna like. And Sans is just like, so you're the current new royal scientist because of Alfie's unfortunate fate. When do you plan on telling Undyne? I mean, that is, after all, why I'm here. Because of her. And Flowey is just like, light bulb. Actually, you just gave me an idea. Smiley Bones. Yeah, it's your new nickname, friend. Smiley Bones. Well, it's better than Smiley Trash Bag, don't you think? Yes. Mr. All Smiles. Come around here, Smiley Bones. I think I might have a way to make things right. It will take a while, of course. All things like this do. But in the end, it will be worth it. And Sen's is like, what the hell are you talking about? And Flowey's just like, of course, I knew you would say that. Wait, what's that sound? Oh, God, no. Oh, yes. Meditom, please, no. That will not be able to suffice. That will not be able to suffice, darling. You do know that, after all, I am a killer robot with desires of fame, fortune, glitz, and glamour. The spotlight of the human world. Yes, indeed, I will be famous. I will be admired by the humans, by monsters, by all humans, by all monsters. MTT, Metaton, that is my name. And Flowey's just like, oh dear God, no, why? And Flowey's just like, Metaton, will you please stop it? And accidentally, like, one of the vines that Flowey is just flailing around trying to stop Metaton, one of the vines, like, hits the part of the switch. There's, like, an EX part, and there's a Neo part, and the Neo part is kind of more prepared for, like, genocide, so, like, Chara, and so it's probably a more violent version, like, even more violent than EX. And EX is even more violent than regular Metaton, so damn, Bala. And, basically just accidentally hits the switch for Neo, and basically whenever Flowey realizes this, it's like, oh god, no, Sans, get out of the way! It's like, oh, yes. It's time for lights, camera, Neo! The power of Neo. And Flowey is like, Sans, duck! But it's too late. It's like, and Sans is like, wait, what the? And Sister's like, And Flavia's just like, damn it, Mettaton, sleep mode. Basically, just like switches off, like Mettaton now in sleep mode. And Flavia's just like, phew! What is wrong with that thing? What did Alphys? What was going through her head whenever she was building that thing? That monstrosity. Oh, shit, that's right. Mr. 1 HP over here. Sans, you were able to dodge those, right? It was just like the knockback that caused you to. No. Sans. Shit. Why'd you have to give me to give a damn? If I was completely rid of any sort of part of me that was Asriel, I could be rid of emotions, rid of caring. I could be rid of the capacity to care for any of you. But no, it had to be this way. Fine. A transfer will be, and a transfer will have to be. It will be the only way that this can be done. You have so much determination, but with the fact that you have a monster soul, and a rather weak one at that, you can't use that determination. But if we were to switch the bare minimal basics of your soul out with the bare minimal basics of mine, basically tweak around to loosen up the inner parts of your soul and tweak around to loosen up the inner parts of mine, basically put my inner soul into you, and whatever happens to me will be just whatever happens. Damn it, why do I have to care? Why can't I just let you die? It was so much easier whenever I felt that way. Like I could just let all of you. But now it's not like that. Now I give a damn. The transfer is mostly complete. Now I do need Mettaton, because in order to fully complete the transfer, I need someone who can well, hopefully he's at least stable. And Flabby, reaches one of his vines over to turn Mettaton on. And Mettaton is, back, into his more mentally stable mode. And so he's like, oh, yes, darling? And Flabby's like, cut the crap, Mettaton. I need you to hook the inner workings of my soul up to where the inner workings of Sam's soul should be. Don't mess with any of the determination. Just put what needs to be put where it needs to be put, okay? Like I said, put what needs to be put where it needs to be put. The inner core of my being inside the inner core of his being. Or at least what used to be the inner core of his being. That's why he needs it. his original inner core is heavily damaged beyond repair. So he needs this if he's going to live. And if I'm to have any chance of surviving, I'll mostly be on life support. No going anywhere outside the lab, but probably just a few meters. If I'm to continue on living, I'll have to be hooked up to something. Something that can continue to supply me with what I need in order to continue to persist onward. Well, now, are we ready to start the transplant? And Mettaton is like, already starting, and it's just like, ding. If I was just like, that should be it. And Mettaton's just like, oops, almost forgot. And he just has the tube with like a syringe at the end and just like sticks the syringe in like Flowey's like stem. And Flowey just wakes up like, ugh, ugh, I was dead there for a second. Mettaton, what the hell? And Mettaton's like, well, I can't always remember everything to the exact T. You should at least be glad that I was able to get things all indeedy together with your friend. Was it you called him Skellybones? Oh, I know what his real name is. Sans, right? Sans, right, darling? And Flowey's just like, well, if I remember correctly, it's just like, well, yes, but if I remember everything about what I was taught about the process of the transfer, at least the way that I did it, he won't be able to remember. There are certain things, a lot of things, that you'll basically need to be around here for a good long while in order to, you know, get back into the swing of things. He's not going to remember barely anything, so he's going to need me. Oh, God, saying that makes me feel so, oddly enough, appreciated, but I don't feel like I deserve that. That being appreciated. What about me deserves to be appreciated? Never mind. The sentimentalities of things. Never mind any of that. What is known is that he has a high level of determination from being part of Frisk and Chara, and his skills upon magic is all from his own self and, well, family. At least, Gasters. Why did Wingdings only have to leave us with bits and pieces, scraps, and just rubbish? All the important stuff seems to be strewn out in every which way and direction. All the important bits, anyways. Determination, powerful magic. Yes, he's going to need a lot of help, especially with the fact that Papyrus is around and other people that know him. Mom, Undyne. She's probably also going to want an explanation for why Alphys is dead and in the closet. Goody, goody gumdrops. Yay for me. I'm even more crippled than I was before. Plus, I have this to worry about. Wait, where the hell did... Mettaton, you were supposed to be watching him so that you could see if he was going to wake up or not. And Mettaton is like, wait, I was supposed to be doing what? And then, like, all of a sudden, like, Mettaton gets kicked to the ground. And it's just like, ugh, freaking Satan calculator. And Flowey's just like, whoa, okay. Well, if I had arms, I could write down. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what the vines are for. Very overly hostile. Yes, that's definitely something I need to write down. Very overly hostile. Right from the get-go. And then, like, Sans just turns his, eyelights towards Flowey and basically asks, who am I, and who are you, and what is this place? What is anything? And Flowey's just like, well, for starters, considering he's a creation, and I have indeed often heard of the possibility of other Sanses, you are blood. Blood Sans. Like, you are Sans. Blood Sans. And Blood is just like, uh, I'm Blood Sans. But who are you, and where is here? What is here? What is any of this? Still, what is going on? Well, I am the current real scientist of this area, being the surface. And this area here, inside the surface, is, well, my lab. The lab of the royal scientist, that being me. Well, current royal scientist. And, well, You've just now been born. Welcome to. Basically, welcome to the world, Blood Sands. Or, just to make things a little bit more simple, we'll just call you Blood. And Blood Sands is just like, well, I guess that helps a little. So I guess it will also just be easier to explain things as we go along. And Flowey's just like, now you're speaking my language. Oh, and the thing you called a Satan calculator that you just kicked down to the floor, that's my assistant, Metaton. I know he's eccentric and, well, crazy, but that's no reason to try to kill him. And Blood is just like, what? He was trying to kill me. And Flowey's just like, oh, bother. Looks like I gotta teach this guy the difference in between someone trying to kill them and someone trying to just socialize with them. Oh, bother. And that is indeed where I will be leaving this part off. What am I gonna call this? Well, BLOODTALE, of course. Yes, that's what I'm gonna call this. BLOODTALE. So, yeah. I don't see no doubts because the Dark Side of Maverick is OUT out of here. You boys. Bye. And this is indeed here the end of part 1 of BLOODTALE.